Live from award-winning FM 89 WONC Naperville, Chicago, it's Steve Pulaski and the Movie Book Club with Sleepless with Steve.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Good to have you with me tonight, wherever you are listening across this great nation of ours, coast to coast, border to border. We cannot forget our wonderful international listeners. Sleepless with Steve on FM 89, the show that brings you great film talk punctuated with a little bit of rock music. Very nice to have you with me. Again, I am joined with the wonderful and inimitable Dominic Guanzon for another episode tonight. The first hour, we are going to hit the ground running. We got a lot to discuss. We got a lot to talk about tonight, mainly because for the first time in weeks, I think the last time we saw a movie, like we saw the same movie the weekend and prepped to talk about it, was Logan. I think that was the last time. I might be mistaken. Get Out, I know we saw. We did talk about Logan and whatnot. But today we are talking about the brand new Tom Hanks, Emma Watson film, The Circle, based off the 2013 Dave Eggers novel.
And it really should be flipped. It really should be Emma Watson as the top billing.
It should be, yes.
If she isn't, then she should be.
I think it's Tom Hanks who gets top billing, just because of the fact that he's... And they go by status. It doesn't go by film role.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why if you look on movie posters sometimes, the one thing that bothers, like, everybody, it's a big internet meme nowadays, is, like, the way that internet posters are structured. You know what I mean? Like, there's some that they don't have the names match up with the faces. They don't. Because that's what it is. It's got everything to do with the billing. It's got nothing to do with, like, poster structure or, you know, prominence in the film. But we were talking about The Circle. We both saw it. I saw it on Friday. I did see it on... Or I saw it on Saturday, excuse me. I saw that in Slight, but unfortunately nobody saw Slight, so we're going to have to talk about The Circle.
Nobody saw The Circle, apparently.
Yeah, very few saw The Circle. And this is first and foremost, I want to say this, though. It was directed by a man who you probably don't know. His name is James Ponsoldt. Okay? And this guy... He's made a lot of really good films. He's made The Spectacular Now. He's made The End of Tour with Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel. He's made a great movie called Smashed. And even, like I said, Spectacular Now and Smashed, they sort of share the theme about, like, teen, adolescent, and, like, young adult alcoholism. He's a really, really good writer, really good director, and I can't help but feel he's got his first miss on his hands with this movie, I'll have to say. If you haven't seen the film, you want to go and explain it? The Circle. Yeah, you want to talk about The Circle?
So obviously, no spoilers. We don't do that here on the show because we don't want to so soon. But essentially what this is The Circle is an all-encompassing social media platform. Essentially, it's essentially an amalgamation of Facebook and Google and a little bit of Amazon. You know, the more technological aspects of Amazon. And essentially, what happens is Emma Watson goes from a dead-end job at tech support or whatever to working in The Circle, which has this incredible culture on its own, right?
Yep.
And she's brought in by her friend. I think Amy, and who's played by Karen Gillan from Doctor Who. I think from the previous series.
Annie's her name.
Excuse me. Yeah, Karen Gillan. Here's another thing. We'll get into that in a little bit. But man, some of these characters were hard to keep track of. I'm just saying.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of recognizable faces.
Yeah.
Emma Watson's father's played by Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton's his last role.
His final film role.
I think he was actually the standout performance. We can get into that later too. But Tom Hanks comes into this picture as kind of a much friendlier Steve Jobs, essentially, right? He's almost got the turtleneck going too.
Yes,
and
definitely channeling Jobs.
And he does, the presentation thing where he's like very active and he's very inspiring and whatnot. And the very first scene in this movie, like 10 minutes in, he delivers very positive, inspiring, technological wonder. It's essentially like a small mini camera you can put anywhere you want, but that essentially brings up the conflict in this story. One of many conflicts, right? Which is, is this a little bit much for technology? Like, is it creeping into our private lives? Is it too much? There's going to be some government regulation problems here as well. And essentially that kind of dives deeper and deeper until we get into the eventual climax of the movie, of course. But that's obviously spoiler territory.
Indeed.
But essentially, what we're looking at here is Emma Watson's character. I forgot her name too.
May Holland.
It's her journey while navigating The Circle.
Indeed.
The company of The Circle and how she goes.
If you boil it down to its most basic plot, that's exactly what it is. It revolves around her character.
And I would like to start with I would like to start with how interesting. This was based off a book. This is not an original screenplay.
Dave Eggers. Him and James Ponsoldt co-wrote the film as well. Eggers and Ponsoldt co-wrote it.
It's an amazing premise. Again, if when we're talking usually movies based off books, we don't really talk about the book much. We don't like are you the same way? You don't like to hold it up to the book?
No, I mean, there's actually a time I wish I could read a lot more than I do. You know what I mean? I wish I had time to read more. Like, this is one of the thousands of books I'd love to read, but they're two separate beasts. You don't hear that kind of comparison with art, with any kind of art, with any other kind of art.
No one talks about the Godfather book which was original before the movie.
Yes.
No one does that. But anyway, so just judging by the movie on its own, it's an amazing premise, and it really drew me in on the first act, kind of bringing us into this world and how much power a lot of technology has today. And you know what the craziest part about this movie is? It really had me enthralled because a lot of science fiction, I actually classify this as a bit of science fiction.
Yeah, it does have undertones.
Because this movie had no problems of suspending my belief. No problems whatsoever.
No.
It was completely engrossing in that I was totally committed. At no point in the story did I go, well, that's impossible. Like, that's not going to happen anytime soon. No, a lot of this is either right on the cusp of happening or is already happening. There was a point in this movie where Emma Watson goes full on 24/7, literally has a camera on her at all times, except maybe when she's in the bathroom or sleeping.
Yeah, she gets like 3-minute bathroom break.
At all times. And you know what? When she's brushing her teeth, she has a camera on her. When she's walking, she has a camera on her.
And the way that they do it, I actually think it's really great how they do it, because they have the text bubbles of all the viewers popping up around her and like engulfing her almost. And man, they must have taken like a real comment or like have gotten people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was accurately written. That's the most accurate thing about that movie was the thought bubbles and the comment bubbles that were popping up around Emma Watson's character while she was streaming.
And that was a really cool part of the movie, because we have people on YouTube who are constantly taking selfie videos of themselves doing updates on their life or whatever,
going live.
Exactly, we're doing it right now. This is full 24/7 as we look at the camera that's set up here,
streaming live
phone camera here on Facebook. But
convergence.
At that point, when this is brought into the movie, this happens like 2/3 into the movie. It's not a big spoiler.
No,
but I start wondering to myself, man, why would she go full 24/7? Because she is not an interesting character.
No, true.
I'm sorry. I couldn't even remember her name.
And you know the thing is, here's the first. We'll start getting into maybe the critical aspect.
Let's get into that.
Yes. You know what the thing is? I will say this too. I mean, with Emma Watson's character in the film, is that I have a very hard time reading Emma Watson. I have a very hard time, it almost seems that her expressions in the movie and like her facial expressions and stuff, they're almost counterintuitive to her actions. Like, if you look at the scene where the two coworkers come up to her while she's working, they're telling her, "Oh, well, we didn't hear from you all weekend, and the circle is about community and connectedness, and why weren't you at these meetings? Well, you got to set up your profile." And you could see like she appears to be visibly uncomfortable in that whole altercation and stuff like that. But then the next scene, she's embracing it as if she never was.
Oh, okay. I'm right.
There's a lot of moments like that in this movie where she seems like off-put or touchy about it, but then the next scene she's embracing it. And I just think that's off with the way, the last two movies that she's done, this and Beauty and the Beast, I found it very hard to really read her as an actress. I almost think that like her face is doing things that she doesn't intend for it to, convey or whatnot.
Their motivation, many of the actors, except Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks and Bill Paxton, who don't get a lot of screen time really, but especially Emma Watson, their motivations and what they're acting just do not line up.
They don't.
It's inconsistent.
No. They
take you out of it.
No, they don't. And there's a lot of great smaller roles in this. John Boyega from Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
Almost no screen time. He had like 5 minutes.
Maybe
I was bamboozled. John Boyega. I was expecting so much more. Go ahead.
Have you Patton Oswalt's in the film as Tom Hanks?
30 seconds essentially.
I know. He's in it for a little bit, but he's terribly underused too.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that movie Boyhood? the Richard Linklater film.
Eli Coltrane, right?
Ella
Coltrane.
Yeah, he's in it. He plays Emma Watson's boyfriend in the film, or not boyfriend,
childhood friend.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Boy next door.
Exactly. Yes, excuse me.
Coltrane's sounds weird because I'm a jazz enthusiast. So saying Coltrane outside of that,
that's funny.
Essentially, Mercer. We'll call him Mercer. His name is Mercer in the movie. Spoilers. His name is Mercer. No, but
he does have a name.
No, but what Mercer's point is in the movie is he is supposed to she's supposed to be the tie of Emma Watson's character to her home life, to her family, and it's this kind of like before the circle. This is her anchor. Yes, exactly. Thank you. But man, Eller, I'm so sorry.
I think it's Eller.
Eller Coltrane. We gave him a pass on Boyhood because that's such a unique premise.
Yes.
If he didn't go into that role, that's fine because he literally was that role.
He was like himself, yeah.
But beyond Boyhood, I just don't think he's going to have a good track record in movies.
I don't think so either.
His acting chops
are weak.
Are kind of weak, yeah.
And the thing is, too, is like, I love Boyhood. I named that my favorite film of 2014.
Oh, yeah.
I love Boyhood. I think it's a great film. I think that I know a lot of people are accusing it, like saying, okay, it's white male centric and whatever.
Oh, come on.
There's an argument for that. I think, though, I do say that, like, a lot of people, especially our generation, I remember I started my review of the film like this. I said, nobody has made the defining piece of art for our generation, but Richard Linklater went and made a film on it anyway. And that's how I see Boyhood a lot. But the thing is, I think no matter who you are, I think you could take something out of that film. But like Eller Coltrane in that film, I make no quibbles, and I've seen it 3 times now, Boyhood. He's more interesting when he's younger. When he grows into angsty, anti-tech, he's basically playing the same character as Mason from Boyhood in this movie.
Mercer, yeah.
He's anti-technology.
We can't keep the characters' names straight because they're not interesting.
Well, the thing is, Mason was his character in Boyhood.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
That was his character's name in Boyhood, and he's a lot like, if you remember how he grew in Boyhood, he's a lot like that here.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, he's not really a vital character. I mean, there's one pivotal moment with him.
He's kind of a vital character in terms of Emma Watson's development.
I mean, yeah, I guess you would say. I mean, he was in it just so they could have that pivotal moment towards the end. But I mean, it really is. I hope he gets better gigs. He was in that.
I hope so.
He was in that movie Barry too.
Okay.
That Barack Obama, the film about Barack Obama's teenagers. He was in that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I were him, I'd be sticking close to Linklater because that's how you're going to get your work.
Now, Tom Hanks, I think, Tom Hanks and Bill Paxton had the standout performances in this movie. Yeah. They didn't have a lot to work with, but what they did, they delivered.
Well, you know what aggravates me about Hanks too in this movie?
Really?
You know what? This might be the first Tom Hanks performance I wasn't completely sold on. Well, I wasn't really totally sold on a hologram for the King either, but that nobody saw that. But anyway, here's the thing with Tom Hanks that bothered me in the movie. Yeah. I think that he was hugely charismatic. I mean, this movie, I called it in my review too. I said this movie's basically a cinematic TED Talk. You know what I mean? You're right. It's what it is. But like, you know what bothered me about Hanks in this movie is that Hanks never turns villainous in any way, or he never seems to get like, especially at the end with him and Patton Oswalt.
We're not gonna spoil it, but
when they're like, they basically realize, the Circle's a corporation run by 2 people that want money.
That the writing's on the wall. That's not a spoiler.
Hanks can't play villainous, and I mean, even if I'm not trying to say that he's supposed to be sinister here, but he always seems like he's kind of taking this role as a joke.
Okay.
Like he has like that, you know what I mean? That grin on his face too, and that smirk and everything. I mean, he seems kind of smarmy at times in the film. I don't think it's a bad performance. I do think it's a standout. I will agree with you that, and Bill Paxton, who gives a very physical performance in the film too, for a supporting character as well. But I mean, Hanks just never morphed into what I thought he should have for this film.
So really, what you're getting at is that Tom Hanks and a lot of the other characters in this movie are very one note. There's no development almost.
No, and you can summarize them all by about one sentence. You know what I mean? They're not very complex. Like, I mean, Emma Watson's character, I'd argue, is ripe for the most complex character of the film too, but she never gets in. I don't know if that's really a fault with her so much. I don't think she's a particularly great actress. I think she's had 2 really good films.
Post Harry Potter, what does she have?
She's got the two movies that I really like her.
Okay.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower was very good, and she's good in that too. Yeah. And the other one that I like a lot too that nobody liked is The Bling Ring.
I didn't see it.
Sofia Coppola's film about the kids and
Sofia Coppola, really?
Yep, Sofia Coppola's film about a group of kids that were going around stealing from celebrities' houses.
I just watched Godfather 3 again recently.
Oh, there you go.
She's on my radar.
There you go. I mean, but that's the thing. It's like I don't know if that's really a fault in the writing, but like I also have a hard time believing. I mean, the writing didn't feel anything remarkable here.
We're back to The Circle, right?
Yes, yeah, of course, The Circle. But like the writing didn't feel anything remarkable to me because of the fact that like I was surprised because Ponsoldt wrote it, the director, and Dave Eggers. So you'd think that most times, unless maybe arguably it's Stephen King who writes the movie that's on his book, you think that they got it in the bag. But for me, I think a really large problem that I had with The Circle too is that it's just a lot of it feels dated too. I mean, some of it feels timely, but a lot of it feels like you said, it's either has happened, or it's coming to happen. And
so in 10 years, this movie's going to feel really dated.
I do too. And I think in a time now, I mean, you can even see data statistics on Pew and everything. I was looking up this weekend too, and I've even had firsthand experience in classes talking to people about this as well. A lot of people are kind of more than you think. I'm not saying that it's by any means like a majority opinion, especially with our age, but a lot of people are rejecting social media or using it less because they're realizing the perils of it too.
They're just fatigued of it.
They're fatigued of it.
The glow is like the sparkly, honeymoon period of it is kind of over now.
And the other thing is too is I noticed that you notice how like when MySpace was around, Facebook was too, but then Facebook usurped MySpace. Right. I keep waiting for something to usurp Facebook, but everything that comes out is just like just a smaller portion. Like Snapchat is videos and photos, Instagram is photos and captions. So there's nothing that's come out to like really usurp Facebook yet. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking I've almost gotten to the point of me being on Facebook. I've been on Facebook 10 years, if you can believe it. About 9-10 years now. I'm not expecting anything to usurp it too, and I think The Circle kind of feels dated in that respect, the way it portrays the growth of social media.
Yeah, I agree on that, especially because it's funny. I mean, if we're going to go into like kind of technological talk too, it's related. But Facebook is just such an integral part of life now. Absolutely. So integral,
absolutely,
that it's impossible almost for anything to usurp it because Facebook has kind of. It's actually, as a business, it was very smart because it branched out in the ways that it needed to in order to stay at the top.
Connected with the right companies, yeah.
But now everyone's just kind of fatigued of it at this point.
And the thing is, too, is Facebook has, and the reason I don't think Facebook is going to get dropped off anytime soon is because also...
Oh, it won't. It won't drop off, but I don't think it'll ever reach that level of, whoa, Facebook, this is cool.
Of course, yes. And
Aaron Sorkin can't help it this time.
No, he can't do the sequel, you know what I mean? But like, Facebook has also just really etched itself in the zeitgeist. I mean, that it is like it is written in Sharpie.
All of this, as we're talking, is being Facebook live streamed. I'm just saying.
That's what it is. I mean, seriously.
We're talking right now to a phone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're live streaming on a phone too, which I've embraced this technology for a while too. But it really becomes so integral in the process in just the everyday life. Yeah. But I mean, The Circle's not bad. I called The Circle in my review. I said this is a movie this is like a deceptively bad. This is like a deceptively like average, below average film. If you come out of it, you might think you saw something that you liked, but then as you start to think about it more, because that's kind of happened with me. I exited the film.
It's like a sleeper bomb.
No, it's like not a bomb. I exited the movie, and I was like, I could maybe write a positive review, but then it was like right after I got out of the bathroom at the theater, I started really thinking, and I'm like, it didn't do as much as I really wanted it to do for me.
It didn't deliver.
There's no emotional aspect to it. There's no emotional aspect to it at all. It's very cold.
The climax where there should have been an emotional climax here, it didn't deliver for me personally.
No, not at all. Not for me either.
You could see it from a mile away too, from when the whole scene started.
Yes, and I think that the structure just kind of bothered me too. Just like I said, it was like the
the structure of it too. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, this was the other thing too. Is I said that it reminds me, and I'll just read this brief thing from my review. I'll just read the closing paragraph. I said The Circle has the look and feel of a good movie, and I initially emerged more positive than I seem now. Like I said, its visual style is sleek. Its commentary is relevant now and will be for a long time, and it has moments of inspiration and intrigue. However, it reminds me a lot of the original Purge, which introduced an unbelievably gripping dystopia where once a year for 12 hours wars, all crime in the U.S., even murder, was made legal. The Purge set up incredible stakes and then confined us to watching a rich, privileged family on lockdown while civilization crumbled outside their window. And I end with this. This is my attempt at a zinger. The Circle is the cinematic equivalent of a sociologist or a social theorist living the life of a hermit.
Wow, look at that. Big words, Mr. Critic, big words.
Yeah, right. I mean, but no, it reminded me of the original Purge because it's like the first Purge. I like the Purge trilogy a lot. I think the second and third.
I love the second one as a goofy, all in movie. The first one ticked me off so much, as you said, because the premise here is awesome. It's goofy, ridiculous,
and then it's home
it.
Invasion thriller.
And it's like, why would you confine it to this one house? I want to see what's going on.
I give it a lot of credit because how many trilogies can you think of or movie series have rebounded from a poor first installment?
That's true. That's very true.
Not many. And I think The Purge, even with their last installment, election year, that came out last year on the eve of the presidential election.
I thought that was genius.
The Purge has become the most socially relevant series right now.
Yeah, funny enough.
You know what I mean? I mean, Get Out's not Get Out is relevant as hell, but it's not a franchise yet. But I mean,
I don't think it should be.
No,
I don't think
that's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be. But I mean, The Purge. I would love to see. I would love to see The Purge continue.
I would love to see like a Purge 8. You know what I'm saying?
I would too,
because it's just that kind of goofy franchise.
But with The Circle, like I said, it reminds me a lot of that, where it's like it's got a great premise, but it focuses on either the wrong characters or it takes the wrong approach. It gets off on a very wrong foot and has moments of inspiration.
And kind of going off that, my girlfriend Chelsea and I, we watched this together, and then we both came out of it, and we both looked at each other like, that was only an hour and 50 minutes. It did not reach the 2-hour mark, but we just feel really fatigued or bored from that movie. There was no delivery at the end that was satisfying.
No.
And the pacing was just really all over the place. I honestly feel like this might be because they were trying to base it off the book or whatever. I did not read the book, but I do think it was just so many ideas, like how much social media is creeping up on our private lives, technology overtaking government, corporations, etc. It was kind of refreshing for a moment to see, a dystopian future where it's not the government. If anything, the government is actually being threatened.
The government's being threatened.
Yeah.
That I will give you.
Yeah, that's why the first act sucked me in so much, and then it didn't deliver.
Because the government is kind of like at the mercy of the Circle at once.
There's a point where I was like, oh no, the poor government. Wait, what did I just say?
That's exactly. I'll give it that. Because it realistically shows how something like
it was fresh. It was a fresh idea.
I mean, even though it's not a social media site, it's very comparable to Amazon in a way that how Amazon when did
the amount of drones flying all over the place in the Circle campus was hilarious.
No, it's true, and I mean it really is. But that's the thing, like you said too. The pacing is very off. There's a lot of characters, and it's also I will say this too. If James Ponsoldt and if Dave Eggers, mainly the writer of the book, wanted to make it into something like media, wanted to develop it into something, adapt it into something, this feels like they're trying to put an 8 to 10 episode HBO mini series into a movie.
I would have watched that.
I would too, and I think in an age of TV, I'm surprised The Circle went to theaters, because I think in the age of where TV is arguably in the golden age of television right now with the writing, because a lot of rejected Hollywood writers or not blacklisted, but oust Hollywood writers have gone to TV because it's easier to break into.
Yeah.
I'm surprised The Circle opted for film when this is a series, when this is a concept that owes itself to 10 episodes.
You know what the pinnacle of that is? Like movies that should have been like a Netflix or whatever TV series? World War Z.
Yes.
I did read the book off that, and that is one of the most disappointing films, having read the book. One of the most disappointing films.
It's also
ever.
one of the most expensive, too. That movie cost a ton of money.
It was supposed to be Brad Pitt's big blockbuster, right?
Yes, it was. I never read World War Z. I never read it, but I watched the movie. I wasn't impressed with the movie. But I was talking to people that liked that book a lot, and they're like, I remember when the trailer came out, my buddy of mine was telling me, he says, I don't even know who Brad Pitt is supposed to be.
Yeah, no.
In the film. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what book they read, or if they read a summary on it and tried to go off on their own path.
At the top, we did say, it's not fair to compare movies to their book predecessors, right? That's not the fair thing to do. So we were kind of going there too, and I'll take that back, sure. But But I
think when you can't define a character from a book for a movie that's based off of the book, I think that's the first issue. I think it's an issue worthy to bring up.
Here's the thing. World War Z, I know we're going way off tangent here, but we've kind of exhausted the circle as it is. But World War Z, the structure of the original book was interviewing people from around the world after a zombie outbreak and post-zombie apocalypse, so that everything's back to normal, essentially, but not really. And just to turn that into some sort of action movie where you can find a cure, quote unquote, it's just, again, that should have been a Netflix TV series or some sort of Amazon TV series, whatever.
In the way the TV's going, whether it be streaming or network television, The Circle was made for that. I'm really surprised they opted for film, especially Ponsoldt too. Ponsoldt works a lot off of his own screenplays too and his own material. So I was surprised on that. So we've come full circle with The Circle. Yeah, you can see what I do. I spend a lot of time alone. I spend a great deal of time by myself. Out of 4 stars, because I do forks, I'm odd.
Sure.
I give The Circle 2 out of 4 stars. Or on my Influx magazine grade, I was a little bit kinder. I give it a C-.
I'll give it 2 out of 4 as well. How about this? I'll give it 7 mildly sinister Tom Hankses out of 47. No, but I'll agree with you on that 2 out of 4 star review because
I think it's fair. I don't think it's bad. I would not call it bad.
But you won't be satisfied. You'll even be disappointed, I think.
Yes, I do. I think that there's an emptiness to this movie.
So much potential, and that first act was
not to mention it's like I always hate to when they build or they construct. We'll end with this. The thing is, I always hate when they build or they construct something like a set or whatever that's really grand and clearly took a lot of time and a lot of architects to build, and then they don't do anything with it.
How many cuts were in that movie? It was like a Michael Bay cut movie.
It was true. It was true.
There was so much going on.
And they could, and I mean, the way that The Circle, you saw that, it's this big conglomerate, the way it's structured, the possibilities for that to be artistically potent were there in mass, and they just never materialized. But I'll just say too, it's it's a great movie. It's another Tom Hanks movie. Come to think of it, that had like a big set like that and used it immaculately. You ever seen The Terminal?
Yes.
They built that whole airport.
I love that movie.
I love The Terminal. That was a great movie because it had emotional relevance too, and it was eye candy, man. It was a feast for your eye. It was a feast that you could devour with your eyes. I mean, it was really a beautiful film. 2 out of 4 stars for me, The Circle, as well as my good friend Dominic Guanzon co-hosting Sleepless with Steve for me tonight. We will be back later this hour, probably just to go wrap around with The Circle one more time, just to give our, again, closing thoughts on it. Slight maybe we'll propose as well. I want to talk briefly about that one. And then next hour, I want to talk about how we're coming off of one of the worst box office hauls of the year to this week, which might go down as one of the most historic in my mind. Broken Lives by Our Last Night coming at you on WONC 89.1 FM.